What a nice cold day. Let's see what's going on in the world. Ah, boring. Oh, well, I guess that happened then. Oh my god. Yeah, everyone's gonna love that one. And oh my god. Is that another retelling of an old movie that no one wants to see? Yes. Yes, it is. What's up, boys? If you guys didn't see the news, then I feel good for you because I just learned that Netflix is going to release a stepsisters movie based on the Cinderella story and her evil stepsisters. But Jake, why would they release a movie about the evil stepsisters from a movie that is like 80 years old now? You're probably asking yourself right now. And the answer is, I don't know. I think they just want money. But come on, I'm sure there's a better way to make money for Netflix. I mean, they just released one of the best movies in recent years, K-pop Demon Hunter. It's a great original. So why do they have to go back to some slop retelling of a story that doesn't need to be retold? Because somewhere out there is a sucker willing to watch it, and that sucker could be one of you guys. Well, okay, I mean, it can't be that bad, right? It's a Cinderella story. They've had a lot of retellings of Cinderella, and they're all kind of good, I guess. I mean, what makes the plot of this one just so much worse that no one should watch it? Well, basically, this one actually goes, instead of telling the side from Cinderella's point of view, how she is abused by her stepsisters and her stepmother, it actually goes to the telling of the stepsisters and how they are misunderstood and not actually evil, just, oh, we are influenced by our evil stepmother and we're not actually the bad guys. Trust me. But my overarching question is why? Who wants this? Who is the audience? Where is the market for this? Is Cinderella in the hot topic news now? Is Cinderella gonna be watched all of a sudden? Like, sorry girl, I don't think that heel is gonna go anywhere, and I don't think your Prince Charming is looking for you anymore. Hell, Cinderella's probably not even waiting for Prince Charming anymore. For all we know, that Prince Charming got sucked down the incel rabbit hole on Reddit and we've never seen him again. Or worse, he joined the manosphere when Andrew Tate and all them came out and tried to be top G's. But how did we get here? To another retelling of a movie that frankly no one wanted to see? Well, it's a tale as old as, I don't know, but we'll go back as far as we can to Frankenstein. Actually, I'm not gonna go to Frankenstein because that's back in the 1800s and that's a long time ago. Instead, we'll go back to Star Wars back in 1983, where Darth Vader becomes the sympathetic villain when he turns against the Emperor and helps Luke destroy the Death Star too. That is one of the earliest iterations of an actual villain turned good at the very end of the story that I can recall, and that was actually done well. Next, we're gonna go all the way from 1983 to 2010. That's a big jump. Now, in 2010, a movie called Megamind came out, and if you don't know what Megamind is, why are you watching this channel? Once you finish up this video, go watch Megamind. It's a great film. Anyways, in the movie Megamind, Megamind actually beats his rival Metro Man, and when he beats him on accident, he's kind of left directionless, and thus he actually become a hero in a sense to fight the bigger conflict. It's not that Megamind was some good guy all along, or that he was going to be a pure hero like a Superman type, no. But it's more that he realized that he wasn't going to be the bad villain, and that he doesn't want to be just an evil villain. He just wants someone there for him. And that's the form of a sympathetic villain who you can sort of root for. But then somewhere along 2010 to 2019, we lose our way. We've gone from Megamind being a great sympathetic villain who you can actually root for, to Joker, who is a psychological freak who is rejected by society and the class and, class structures, and how he kills people because he is insane. See, the difference between Megamind and Joker is that Megamind is a sympathetic villain because he was pushed to do this, and then he tried to still help people in the end while being a villain. But then Joker was kind of forced upon that life because of his mental health crisis and because of how the class structures work. He's on the bottom and therefore pushed aside, but he turned into a psychopath who went around killing a bunch of people. So Joker is not a sympathetic villain at all, and he's not a villain you should even feel bad for, because yes, a lot of the things that leads up to his eventual tipping point is something that a lot of people can relate on with the mental health crisis and the class structures of capitalism. Killing people, and more specifically 4 or 5 people, doesn't help you. But then we have another movie, Cruella. Back in 2021, they released it talking about the main villain of 101 Dalmatians, where her big stick is she wants more furs from Dalmatians to make more money. In this movie, they try to portray Cruella de Vil as someone who was actually misunderstood and someone who was taken advantage of by another higher tier, like The Devil Wears Prada. And while yes, I actually think Cruella is a pretty good movie, it's not a sympathetic villain I can ever root for or even support, because when you go to skin Dalmatians, you've lost me, and you're not going to be able to tell me that this is a good person anymore. And then we have the year of our Lord 2025 and 2024. We had Wicked Part 2 and Part 1 respectively, showing the Wicked Witches of the East and the West, and Glinda actually being fairly close friends, but in the end it was Glinda who might have actually been the bad person in the end, and how Dorothy and company was also kind of bad guys and ruthless people. And the witches, they were just some people trying to make it through, and they were like Megamind. Because they were green, they were cast away in society because no one wants a green person, right? Except one of America's earliest fan fictions is not going to convince me that the Wicked Witches aren't bad people. Yes, sure, the Wicked Witch of the West didn't like it that Dorothy landed a house on her sister. And to be fair, I probably wouldn't have liked it either. But you're not going to convince me that they are good people. You can convince me that Glinda's a bad person and the Wizard of Oz is a bad person. Sure. But Dorothy was just taken there and Glinda told her to, hey, Merker, pack her up. Also because the scene where Elphaba turns Bach into the Tin Man is probably the funniest and actually most terrifying thing I've seen in a long time. So now that I've told you some of the summaries about movies that basically would lead up to where we are with steps, it kind of leaves me wondering, where is the inspiration for this movie though? Most iterations of the Cinderella story don't show the evil stepsisters as anything but the evil stepsisters. And in fact, in one of the more popular ones that I know, and it's not necessarily a Cinderella story, but it's about a lot of fantasy things, Into the Woods, it actually shows the stepsisters grabbing their feet when Cinderella loses her shoe and starting to shave part of her feet off. Yes, I have Espeon shoe or Sylveon socks on. Sorry, but they shave part of the feet off. And it's kind of disturbing, but it's a pretty accurate rendition of what would have happened and what actually happened. So how exactly do you take two twin sisters that physically abused Cinderella and mentally abused her, I guess, but also locked her into a basement and ripped apart her dress? And how do you make them these sympathetic characters of a movie? Like, how are you misunderstood when you ripped up Cinderella's dress, but then also practiced foot binding like the ancient Chinese did to fit your foot into a slipper? How would the plot of this movie even go? Oh, suddenly both the sisters decide, oh, our stepmom is doing bad things to Cinderella. We should totally stop her. After we rip up Cinderella's dress and send it to her in the mail. It's a weird concept for a movie that Netflix probably shouldn't be investing in, but also at the same time, it makes me wonder, why do we make these type of movies at all? Like I said, this isn't a new trend because this is going back all the way to Shakespeare and much earlier with the term called woobification, where it's talking about a villain and making them sympathetic to audiences by telling them about their abuse, their traumas, and their upbringings. Now, for Shakespeare, Macbeth is a great example for a villain who is seen as sympathetic because of things that have happened to him or how he was influenced, where the three witches who told Macbeth about the prophecy to kill King Duncan basically led him to do bad things, and then he started to instantly regret it, well, after a few days. Now, when it comes to movies, it's a slightly different tale, as Frankenstein is one of the earliest accounts of a movie trying to show as the monster or a bad guy villain being sympathetic, and he's actually not the bad guy, or he's a misunderstood character. Now, obviously, the Frankenstein movie and book have almost nothing to do with each other, outside of the fact that a mad scientist reanimates a bunch of dead body parts into a living being. But other movies like the Star Wars franchise, Maleficent, and Wicked try to show that these villains that we have known and come to know as villains can be sympathetic and actually have real reasons to do bad things. And I do think there is a fair place for these movies where villains can be shown as not actually the full evil and that there is actually being led or pushed by something else. A lot of animes already follow this trope, and they have for years. For instance, probably the most popular one that everyone knows is Obito from the Fourth Great Ninja War. Obito is so confident in his dedication to what Madara says about saving everyone or even stopping everyone from suffering anymore that he is blindly following him to conquer and get the Ten Tails and the infinite Tsukuyomi. But we see in his fight with Kakashi and Naruto how Obito isn't just some evil slate, but he was a kid that was led upon a bad path after he saw bad images and he was clearly being influenced by Madara. Now that's an example of a villain that you really can't hate, and you have to understand he's probably not a bad person. He's just done bad things because he was led astray as a child. But back to my argument about these stepsisters from Cinderella, what difference could that make? Again, it's not like their stepmother was right there in front of them with like a weapon or something, forcing them to rip up the dress, lock her in a cellar, and then make her life miserable, right? And sure, you could blame the stepmother for indoctrinating these stepdaughters, but they were probably teens or adults when this happened, and by then, they should have an understanding of what's right and wrong. And frankly, I don't see how you're going to make these evil stepsisters sound like good people or misunderstood people when they eventually still have to do bad things to Cinderella to make the Cinderella story happen. But I don't know, clearly there's a writer and director at Netflix that says we can write a story about the evil stepsisters, but how they're actually misunderstood and how people should actually like them instead of hate them. Clearly, they're a lot more confident than I am that this would be a functional working project and that anyone would get on board and watch it. But I guess good for them for spending a lot of money and probably not earning it back. But besides that fact, I think it's a more telling sign that the industry, as in the movie and Hollywood industry, need to consider making more new projects, because no one wants to see the same retold or rehashed story just with a slight twist or a slight misunderstood villain. They want to see new things. K-pop Demon Hunter came out last year and it was the biggest movie last year. Well, basically. But also, one thing they can't forget is that they just don't want a fresh idea. They want a good, fresh idea. So if they come out with a movie that's a new idea, but it blows chunks, no one's gonna want to watch that. And for rightfully so, no one wants to waste their time on a bad movie. Unless you're like me and you like to watch bad movies because it makes you laugh and you need a little laughter in your life. But that's probably going to be it for me here. I don't think this is going to be a good movie, but if anyone has any more like info about this movie or like details about it, I'd love to hear it. Maybe if you think the movie will be good, you can comment and we can have a little discourse down there too. We'll see. Who knows? In that case, I think that's going to be it. Subscribe down below if you made it this far and you enjoyed the video. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before February 2026. And we're not close, but we can be close. We can get there soon. Yeah, we can do it. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one, boys. Bye-bye.